Welcome to Pride Pages podcast. I'm here with Stephan Burchard. Welcome.
Thank you. Hey, Mita.
Hey, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast below. And so let's just jump into the questions. Stephan, tell me about living in Palm Springs as LGBTQ and what it means to you to be a part of the community here.
I moved to Palm Springs directly from San Francisco. I've been in California since a very long time, 40 years. And to me, I moved to California because at that time, being LGBT was not always a safe expression of oneself, I'll say. And I lived in a major metropolitan area, Washington, D.C., but people were still getting shot. Their cars were being broken into and tires slashed, and we were getting beat up still in major metropolitan areas. So California was a nice option because they accepted queers at that time. So Palm Springs for me is a return to Southern California. And the fact that it's just an LGBTQ plus haven is a bonus. So I wanted to be back in Southern California because of the warm weather. My last winter in San Francisco was cold and wet, and it rained sideways every other day. And I just was like, I'm done with weather. I'm done with rain. I just can't do this anymore. So here I landed in Palm Springs, and I did not realize how big of a gay community we had out here. I did not realize it penetrated all 9 cities. I did not realize the extent. So for me, living as a safe, I'll say, a safe out LGBTQ person it's just an expression of who I am, and it's so interesting when I think of that, because if I go over my evolution as a human being, I remember in my 20s having a different expression of myself as opposed to now, which is more authentic. When I was younger, I, had those stereotypical behaviors and mannerisms of being a gay man back then. And it's just evolved over time to where it's like, yeah, I'm gay, but it's not who I am. It's a piece of who I am. It's one tiny piece of who I am. Who I am is Stephan Burchard. And the thing I love about Palm Springs is that everything's accepted. We love everybody. We love drag queens. We love our trans brothers and sisters. We even love bisexual and intersex. Everybody is loved and accepted. And I really like that. It's refreshing. So when there's that one off chance that you find somebody in the desert who is not quite as welcoming and accepting, it's like, because you think everybody here is. And it's not the case.
Right, right. So why did you become a realtor? What brought you into the industry?
I like to say I came into real estate kicking and screaming. Before I got into the business, I was in IT and I was a business analyst making 6 figures and loved my work. It was the perfect work for an introvert because you do a lot of heads down work on the computer and then you meet with people in meetings, and it was great work. But the bottom dropped out of the IT industry in the early 2000s. I was in the Bay Area specifically. And my partner at the time was working towards getting, I was getting my broker's license at the time. So my partner, who was a loan officer, could get 100% of his commissions. His commissions, he would give 50-50 with his brother. So a little bird whispered in my ear, you got a master's degree, get your broker's license and have your own company. So I did that. And when the bottom dropped out of the IT industry and I had no other options for a job, it was like, okay, well, give it a go, give it a try, see what happens. And I quickly found that I enjoyed the business because there was an aspect of research and analysis, which was part of being a business analyst. That was still very much part of being in real estate. And then effective communication, which is still very much part of being in real estate. And I learned over time about building relationships. I've always been able to connect with people, but now I can articulate it as building relationships. So I found that it was actually a pretty fun job at the time. And yeah, so that's how I got into real estate.
I love that. So, um, what is this coaching thing you've got going on?
This coaching thing I've got going on evolved. Over the last year and a half, the market has changed a little, and um, circumstances were such that I had some time on my hands. And I've always been very good at mentoring and coaching people, always. You know that part about me, I'm sure. I just, something clicked in my head. It's like, dude, you've got 21 years of experience as an entrepreneur as well as a realtor. Why don't you be of service and create a business around that knowledge?
And
So,
as a realtor that was on the board too.
yes. So, I've got a lot of experience that I bring to the table that I can help other professionals, either a realtor or another or another entrepreneur. So I've been working on that and developing that this year, and I'm enjoying it. And I've got some digital courses coming up that I'm really excited about, and starting to, advertise a lot more on social media and YouTube. And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. So I'm looking to next year it really starting to take off, which will just be fabulous.
I love that. I love that. So, how did you come to be known as the Desert Bow Tie Realtor?
Um, this goes back to, oh, probably about 8 years ago. I branded myself as Stephan Burchard Real Estate. And around the same time as I was creating that logo and that brand, I was playing with my my attire, how I dressed. Because a lot of the realtors here, and I'm not bashing any of them that like to dress cash, but there's a lot of realtors that dress very casual in flip-flops, shorts. Um, and to me, it was like, this is a really important decision for people. And I want to be a professional. I want to be perceived as a professional. So first I started wearing polo shirts and nice pants or slacks, and that was okay. But then a guy came to a meeting one time and he was wearing a bow tie. And it was like, that looks really cool. So I went out, bought a bow tie, learned how to tie it, which is a job. And then when I saw that matched with my nerdy glasses, it was just this iconic look that just felt right. So I first started as I didn't identify as the bow tie realtor. It was just what I was wearing. Other people coined the phrase, oh, he's the bow tie realtor, because I was always wearing a bow tie. And then probably over a 2-year period, then the Desert Bow Tie Realtor, because I looked up on social media bow tie realtor and there were others, but there was no Desert Bow Tie Realtor anywhere. So that's kind of what drove the Desert Bow Tie Realtor, was that was available on social media, unique and different. So
And you said you learned how to tie it, so they're not already prefabricated and pre-tied?
Nope. No, ma'am. There's
Wow.
two types of bow ties. There's a self-tie and then there's a pre-tied. And I call the pre-tie either strap-ons or cheaters.
Strap-ons. I love that.
No, I always get a laugh. And there's actually one, I call it a hybrid. So it's got the elements of a pre-tied, but it's like a self-tie. It's just got this piece that after I tie it, I can unhook it and hang it up in the closet, and then I could slap it on real fast. So it's almost like a pre-tied, but it still has this kind of asymmetrical, zhuzh to it. So
Nice.
no, it was quite a chore to learn how to tie a bow tie. The fun fact, it's the same knot as tying your shoes.
No kidding.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
So I'm going to have to ask, now that you've told me that, do you actually have one of those YouTube videos showing us how to tie a bow tie?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to look for that link. I want it so I can put it below for everybody else who wants to know how to tie a bow tie. So I'm going to ask for that after this podcast.
Yeah,
Perfect.
It's on there.
That's awesome. I love it. So tell me about your simple process: educate, negotiate, and communicate.
That goes back to around the same time I was branding myself. I was creating this little tarot card marketing piece that I would take to networking events because I wanted to talk a little bit more about me. And when I wanted to talk what makes me different, what is my competitive advantage, how am I different than other realtors? And I came up with educate, negotiate, communicate, which is that's my job, is to educate my clients, negotiate on their behalf, a win-win scenario for them, and then to communicate for them on their behalf or with them every step of the way so that they know what's going on during the entire process.
That's awesome. That's it's especially important when you're in that process of buying a home. So that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about the LGBTQ Real Estate Alliance and why it's important to you.
I am still learning that. Randy asked me to come along and play, and I didn't even know that it existed at the moment. I think I'd heard about it. Yes, I lied. I heard about it at Caravan, and then of course I went out and joined it immediately. So I joined the alliance, and then Randy, can't remember his last name. He's the local chapter president. And he just invited me to be on the board. He's like, hey, I've got an open director position. I need you and your skills. We're just getting started. We really need your leadership. And when I look at things like that for volunteer leadership, I look at the time involved. How much of my time is this going to take? An hour and a half a month is not a lot of time. So that's the board meeting part of it. And I have found what I like about it is that it includes everybody. We're actually having socials. It's not just a database of names. We're actually creating educational events and social events. And I have not experienced that with any other LGBTQ type of real estate listing or chamber. Even our local DBA chamber is awesome. But it's the bigger gay community, not necessarily our industry. So we have, affiliates, we've got lenders, we've got, real estate folks and brokers, and it's in multiple states, which is nice because there's multiple chapters, and that's really exciting to be tapped into something bigger.
I love that. Is there anything you want to finish off with to tell the audience?
There's another group that I'm involved with out here in the desert called Gay for Good. And that's exactly gayforgood.org. It's an organization that's, the best way to put it is, it's a bunch of retired LGBTQ folks that got time on their hand and want to volunteer. So what we do is we find service projects and opportunities for them to volunteer. We post it and distribute it. People sign up, and then they hobnob and have fun while they're volunteering for the greater community, not just the LGBTQ community. So it's for the whole community, not just our community. And that's a cool experience. So I've been part of resurrecting that chapter because they started just before COVID, then COVID happened. And so, we've been working on building that since COVID, the resurrection since COVID. So it's a great organization. I love it.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you for tuning in to Pride Pages podcast. And don't forget to subscribe and follow.